How you doing, everybody? Sasquatch Wizard Adirondacks. Alright, so I'm going to go over the setup that we have for tonight and show you around. I get service up here, so I got to make a trip back to the truck, grab a sleeping bag and a couple of things, and I might go grab a bite to eat real quick so I don't have to bring food up here. Maybe a couple Reese's. Alright, let's get on with it. I'm on top of what I call Bigfoot Mountain. I'm in research area 2. Last night I got up to research area 2 quite late. Work kept me out, and I never even got up there until somewhere around 8:30. It took me almost 3.5 to 4 hours to get from my truck to here and set up to this point. So I knew last night, well, it would have took me longer than that because I was still in my work clothes and I had to get switched out and geared up. I wasn't ready, but I had a good night right there at the truck. The owls came in, I had coyotes, and I was able to catch one of the coyotes on my thermal, although I still do not have the correct equipment to record with my thermal. I got to get a DVR, hook it up, so I think it's a DVR. So I heard what sounded like a rock. I kind of got excited. A couple of different things were happening all at once, and this was probably, I don't know, around 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning. I had owls. I was recording them, stopping the recorder, so I'd had some short recordings of them. Coyotes in the same. I was watching the wood rats and squirrels and birds and stuff out that are out at night. I could hear another loon way off in the distance. There's a swamp on the other side of the rural road, and there's one up at the top of the hill, the first swamp I come to when I'm walking into this place. I stayed dark for quite some time, but I was starving, so I was bound to start a fire and cook up some. I brought some freeze-dried traveler stew with me, and I caught a whiff of wet dog, and it was strong. And at first I was like, well, I could see my breath. It was cold enough last night up here, and I I blew some breath out and realized that it was coming down off of the hill. There wasn't really a wind. I think it was just a difference between warm air, cold air, and created a draft. But either way, it seems to me that that's where that smell would be coming from. So I got up there with my thermal. I didn't see anything. While I was doing that, I caught another whiff of that wet dog. I'm like, oh boy, it's right here. And my heart started pounding. I'm like, there's something right here. I can smell it. Of course, you can figure, yeah, the old pot of Bigfoot sauce started boiling in my head. And then on the other side of the truck, I heard this. Sounded like somebody threw a baseball-sized stone and it hit the ground and went doom, 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 doom. I was like, oh boy, here we go. So I walked around the front of the truck with the thermal on, and I pointed it up. And when I did, I caught something just go up over something and dart right to the left, and it was low to the ground. I think that was a coyote. It just makes sense. It smelled wet dog. I hearing coyotes down on the road, up on the hill. They were all around me, so I think it was a coyote. But this morning I went around and looked in that area and for a little bit traveled around while I was testing out what I was working on all morning long so I could come up and do this. I didn't see any Bigfoot tracks or anything like that, so that was that. I wanted to come right up in here because last night I was going to put on, I've got my hex suit on, I have all the accessories, and I brought my ghillie suit to break up my outline, and I was going to go up, get right up in my tree stand and stay up there until late at night or all night until I couldn't stay awake any longer. But like I had said, at the time, I realized I wasn't even geared up. It just wasn't worth it. Wasn't worth it. I said, the hell with it. I'll just stay here, do what I got to do, and then we'll head out in the morning and go up there, get in the stand. Well, you know, I didn't do that either, because I got up, had some breakfast, had some coffee, and then I was like, you know what? You're always traipsing around through the woods and videotaping this and investigating that. You know, earlier this winter, I took out my parabolic dish and my H4Zoom recorder, and I had figured out how to get it to work to where I could have a set of headphones on, and it was recording what it was pointing at, and it worked rather well. But I set it aside for quite some time. And in the spring, I used my H4Zoom recorder to do a bunch of B-roll for Tree Breaks Decoded, and I had done a lot of work with that early in the spring. And then when I went to go try to get it off that recorder and put it on the computer, I realized that something went wrong, and it didn't record anything. That was a bummer. So since then, frustrated, I just set all that aside. This morning, I got out the owner's manual, and I spent about 2.5, 3 hours. Got it all put together, got it working right, and now I've dragged it up here on top of Bigfoot Mountain, and I'm going to use it tonight. So, I'm not going to be able to see what I'm showing you, so I'm going to hope that I'm pointing in the right direction. Alright, that's my tent. I had to improvise. The stones that are around there is because I'm on a ledge covered in mosses. Okay, and so I had to stake everything down and put stones on it. There's the dish. Wildtronics. Everything's ready to go. Microphone's in here. It's facing that way, and it's set exactly where it needs to be. And this is a 48 volt Phantom inline. I'll show you on this side. You can set it to 12 volt or you can set it to 48 volt. This is your on and off. There it is. Step back. Alright, so I'll hook up the recorder into that, and I can actually walk about 10 feet around if I need to with the recorder and the headphones. Alright, so let's show you what I'm going to be doing, or well, let's show you the terrain. Okay, that might be too much. Alright, so you can see that I'm right out on the point of a, you know, big rock. Call it a mountain. I call it Bigfoot Mountain. If you look on Google Earth, it actually looks like a pretty close to a Bigfoot. The way the fingers are at the one end, and it has somewhat of a heel. Alright, try not to make this video too long. So, what do you guys think? Let's see. There's the mountain range. That's pretty much the area that I'm going to be pointing at, because I do feel, you know, that and the pond down there, because I do feel that those mountains way out into there and stuff through these trees and over into there will be okay, but I don't think will be my the money ticket, you know. So, all right, as you can see, this is very steep. I mean, you don't want to slip and fall. You're gonna, once you get where you can see there's nothing else there isn't. It's just straight down. You can climb up that. It's not a sheer cliff. And then right up there to camp. Okay, now I will take you, I want to show you something I found here. I took some pictures of this. Looks like I have some bear scat here. Put my hand down so you can see. Alright, and that bear did his business, and then you can see this moss that's all kicked up, right? And there's some down there kicked over the bank. I didn't know that that bears kick behind themselves after they go to the bathroom. I guess most animals do, right? I mean, deer don't. So ungulates, no. Dogs, cats, bear, yes. All right, I'll take you down here. Now the reason why I am showing you folks this is because I get service up here. So I'm gonna post this video. And if by any chance, Joe, if you're live tonight and I'm able, which I should be able to, I may hit the link. Just step out here. Okay, you can see that it drops right off. It's basically a rock. Oops. Basically a rock like this, and it's steep all the way around here. That drops right off. Down in there, I've been all over down in there, and I will tell you that out over that way is a very interesting area, to say the least. If anybody knows what those plants are, I'd like to know. Last year when I came up here on Christmas night or New Year's or whatever it was, I can't remember. I did the video, I was up here. I set some, I can't remember what I set. I think I set some like sage, some berries, just some stuff I had set there. And just doing my thing, you know, at that time. There's a broken tree off in the distance, and those are constant on both sides of this mountain. I do believe the reason why those trees are broken is because back in the spring, jeepers creepers, I looked up there on the hill and I thought that was a guy standing up there. I forgot all about that parabolic dish. Alright, so the trees. So I do believe that a lot of the broken treetops that I've been finding since spring are associated with a snowstorm that came towards the end of the season up here in the Adirondacks, and pending your elevation was whether you got mostly rain or, you know, heavy snow and a little bit of it, or all snow and heavy. I do believe by the looks of the destruction up here this spring that it was all heavy snow. A lot of treetops, evergreens, white pines, including these trees up here of all different types, they all took a beating. So it made it really tough this year coming up here trying to investigate stuff for tree breaks to coat it when we had such destruction from a natural snowstorm. But let's say I never even came up here into this area, and the first time I came up here was this spring, and I didn't know that. Well, that's a good reason to look that stuff up. Okay, I'm doing an investigation on a piece of tree material for a person, and one of the things that I did was go on the Weather Underground, and I checked on the weather a year leading up to the point closest to when this person assumes it possibly could have been manipulated. And I've got just a little bit more of that, a little bit more to do. I need to check on your populations of some animals, and I'll put together the full report and email it to you. And I want to show you guys over here, and then we'll wrap this up. I'll send it, and then I got to walk back to the truck, shoot into town, pack a bunch of food in my gullet, get me a coffee. I did have coffee this morning, but it was camp coffee. Very steep. And when I was here, let's just call it Christmas. When I was here on Christmas, I kept hearing something traversing across the bank down here. It was heavy, it was snapping stuff, it had some weight. Probably deer. I never saw anything that night. I want to show you an interesting spot. Sorry about the long video. Alright, now starting right here, okay, it's like beach ball size to car size and everything in between boulders that have just eroded and rolled down off this mountain for thousands of years. And then there's another flow down in there. I don't want to get off on a tangent on all that. Excuse me. So this over here, I thought, checking my perimeter to get a good idea of what's going on everywhere around me before nightfall. Oh, careful. Show you something. Make sure you look up. There's a widowmaker. All right, let's get over here. I'm going to turn around. All right, you see that? This is a valley. Not a huge valley, you know, but like a gut going right out. I am right up in there. So, from this little ridge line that drops over the backside, if Sasquatch wanted to come here and take a look and see what I was doing, he could come up the backside and peek over the top of the bank. They'd have no problem traversing the rocky semi-cliff side and coming up any one side to do the same. That spot right there is interesting to me because that's my blind spot. So anything could come up into here, coyote, cat, bear, Sasquatch, go right up in there and view me. Just poke the top of the head over in the eyes. All right, well, I got some firewood, but I'm not going to start a fire, same thing as last night, until as late as possible, or if I just get sketched out because I have whatever around me that gets me to the point where I think I need to start a fire. You know, because when lights are off, I don't care what kind of wild animal it is, you're inviting them in close. You know, you have to deal with that. That's a fact. That's why we have lights off. What I'm hoping is that my thermal, because it has 3 times zoom, will be able to zoom in and get through some sort of gap on that ridge or along the pond or anywhere along the crest, and then maybe I can get a heat signature. All right, 20 minutes. Right on. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and post this. Now I only get service up here. I do have 2 bars. That's not bad. I'm gonna head out to the truck. I'll probably have the phone on there. I may check and see what everybody's doing. I may respond to some comments. I may watch one of your videos, you know, but I've got to make quick of it. I don't want to come up in here in the dark already. I want to come up here. I would love to just take a nap. I'm exhausted. I got to bed probably about 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning, and I was up at daybreak. At the crack of dawn, just started getting light. So I'm tired, but I'm ready. It would be pretty cool if it works out to come on your show live, Joe. And I'll have earphones on. I will be whispering and we'll be quiet. And it's hard for me to get my phone adjusted onto my FLIR thermal so that I can give you the image of what I'm seeing, but I can do it. Sometimes it takes me a little bit and it's very frustrating. So I hope I don't get all flustered because I get nervous sometimes in front of everybody. All right. So I hope you guys are all having a great weekend. I know I am. I'm super excited for tonight. Right on. Let's get her done.